Capricorn, something may be shifting beneath the routine you've worked so hard to build. It may not be loud. It may not happen overnight. But sometimes the most meaningful changes begin in silence, long before they become visible. You may have noticed yourself thinking differently lately. The goals that once consumed your attention may no longer feel as urgent. Conversations that used to drain your energy may not affect you the same way. Or perhaps you felt an unexpected pull toward a new dream, one you can't quite explain yet. If this message resonates, don't dismiss those feelings too quickly. Many people spend years waiting for life to send a clear sign, never realizing that the first sign often comes from within. It begins as a quiet whisper that says, "You're ready for something more." Maybe you've been carrying responsibilities for so long that you've forgotten what it feels like to simply breathe without pressure. Maybe you've been so focused on taking care of everyone else that you've placed your own happiness on hold. Or maybe you've been climbing one mountain after another, believing that once you reach the top, everything would finally make sense. But what if the next chapter isn't asking you to climb harder? What if it's inviting you to climb differently? Today, we're exploring 5 divine blessings that may be finding their way toward Capricorn, not as guarantees or predictions, but as symbolic reminders of the opportunities for growth, healing, and hope that many people associate with this season. Astrology is best viewed as a tool for reflection rather than certainty. Think of it like a map instead of a destination. It doesn't decide your future. Your choices, your courage, and your willingness to grow will always matter most. So, take what resonates, leave behind what doesn't, and allow this message to inspire your own journey. Stay until the end, because the 5th blessing is often the one people don't recognize until it changes everything. Let's begin with the first blessing. The first blessing may not arrive as exciting news or a dramatic life event. It may arrive as something far more valuable, an emotional breakthrough. Capricorn is often described as one of the strongest signs of the Zodiac, but strength has a hidden cost. People see your discipline, your reliability, and your determination. What they don't always see are the silent disappointments you've learned to carry without complaint. You know what it's like to keep showing up even when you're exhausted. You know what it's like to smile while quietly wondering if all your effort will ever truly pay off. And perhaps most of all, you know what it's like to carry emotional weight that no one else realizes you're holding. Imagine walking through life with a backpack filled with stones. At first, the weight seems manageable. Then months turn into years. Eventually, you become so used to carrying it that you forget what it feels like to walk freely. Those stones may represent old regrets, broken trust, missed opportunities, painful memories, or expectations you've placed on yourself for far too long. Many Capricorns become experts at surviving difficult seasons. They keep moving forward because stopping simply doesn't feel like an option. But surviving isn't the same as living. One of the greatest blessings that may be approaching is the realization that you no longer have to define yourself by your past struggles. Perhaps you'll reconnect with someone who helps you see yourself through kinder eyes. Perhaps you'll finally forgive yourself for a mistake you've replayed 1,000 times. Or maybe nothing dramatic happens at all. Maybe one ordinary morning, while drinking your coffee or driving to work, you'll realize that a memory which once filled you with pain no longer has the same power over your heart. That's how healing often works. It doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives quietly, almost unnoticed, until one day you realize you've been smiling more than you've been worrying. Psychologists often say that healing begins when we change the story we tell ourselves. The past may remain the same, but the meaning we give it can evolve. What once looked like failure may now appear as preparation. What once felt like rejection may now look like redirection. Think about a forest after a wildfire. For a while, everything appears empty. The ground is dark. The trees seem lifeless. Yet beneath the surface, new seeds begin to grow. Seeds that could only open because of the intense heat. Life has a remarkable way of creating new beginnings where endings once seemed permanent. Your experiences may have been doing exactly that. The difficult seasons may have been developing patience, resilience, wisdom, and compassion in ways that comfort never could. If this message resonates, perhaps the invitation today is simple. Stop measuring your future by your past. Allow yourself to believe that you can move forward without carrying every disappointment with you, because the strongest people aren't the ones who never feel pain. They're the ones who learn that pain doesn't have to become their identity. And that may be the first divine blessing finding its way into your life. Not the complete absence of challenges, but the quiet freedom that comes when your heart finally makes peace with what it can no longer change. Remember this: sometimes the greatest breakthrough isn't opening a new door. It's finally putting down the weight that kept you from walking through it. But that's only part of the story. Once your heart begins to let go of what no longer serves you, something remarkable often happens. You start noticing opportunities that may have been there all along. The world hasn't necessarily changed, but your perspective has. And sometimes that's where everything begins to shift. The second blessing may come in the form of an unexpected opportunity, not necessarily one you've been planning for, not one you've spent years chasing, but one that quietly appears when you're finally ready to recognize it. Capricorn is naturally ambitious. You understand the value of hard work better than most people. You're willing to stay late, practice longer, and keep going after others have given up. While many people hope for success, you usually prepare for it. Yet there's one challenge many Capricorns face. You can become so focused on the path you've carefully planned that you might overlook a better one, waiting just around the corner. Imagine spending years climbing one mountain because you're convinced the view at the top will answer every question. Then, halfway up, someone points toward another trail, one you never considered. At first, changing direction feels uncomfortable. You've already invested so much time and energy, but what if that unexpected trail leads somewhere even more meaningful? Life has a way of presenting opportunities that don't always look impressive at first glance. It could be a conversation with someone you almost didn't answer, a job offer that seems smaller than your current position, but opens doors you never imagined. A creative idea that visits you late at night when the world is quiet. A chance to learn a new skill that eventually changes the direction of your career. Or perhaps it's the courage to finally start the project that's been living in your notebook for years. Many people interpret these moments as luck. Others see them as the result of preparation meeting opportunity. Whatever you choose to call it, one thing remains true. Opportunities often arrive disguised as ordinary moments. Think about an architect standing before an empty piece of land. Most people see nothing but dirt. The architect sees possibility, a home, a neighborhood, a future. The land hasn't changed, the vision has. In much the same way, you may be entering a season where you begin to recognize possibilities that once seemed invisible. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as a shift in mindset. When we release fear and become more open to change, our brains naturally begin noticing options that were always present but previously overlooked. This doesn't mean every opportunity should be accepted without thought. Capricorn's greatest strength has never been rushing. It's your ability to evaluate, prepare, and build something lasting. So if an unexpected door opens, don't dismiss it simply because it wasn't part of your original plan. Ask yourself a different question. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening now?" try asking, "What could this be teaching me?" That small change in perspective can transform uncertainty into curiosity. Here's what many Capricorns don't expect. Sometimes the opportunity isn't about earning more money or gaining a bigger title. Sometimes it's about discovering work that feels meaningful. It's about waking up excited instead of simply obligated. It's about using your talents in ways that leave you feeling fulfilled rather than merely productive. You may find yourself reconnecting with a passion you abandoned years ago because life became too busy. Perhaps you'll remember how much you loved writing, teaching, designing, building, helping others, or creating something with your own hands. Those passions rarely disappear. They simply wait patiently until we're ready to invite them back into our lives. And if finances have been weighing on your mind, this blessing may also encourage a healthier relationship with, not through reckless risks or unrealistic promises, but through steady progress, wiser decisions, and the confidence to recognize your own value. Many successful people look back and realize their biggest breakthrough didn't begin with a perfect plan. It began with one brave decision to say yes when fear suggested saying no. Maybe this is your reminder that growth rarely feels comfortable in the beginning. Every new chapter asks something of us. It asks us to trust ourselves just a little more than we did yesterday. It asks us to believe that our experience has prepared us for challenges we haven't faced yet, and it reminds us that the future is often built one small decision at a time. If this message resonates, don't underestimate the quiet opportunities that cross your path in the coming days or weeks. Some may seem ordinary. Some may arrive disguised as extra responsibility, an unexpected invitation, or a simple conversation. But every meaningful journey begins with a single step that almost feels too small to matter. Remember this: the opportunities that change your life aren't always the loudest. They're often the ones that gently ask, "Are you finally ready?" The next blessing, however, may touch something even deeper than your ambitions, because success feels different when your heart has someone safe to share it with. The next blessing may be the one that touches your heart in ways success never could. Because no matter how strong, independent, or capable you are, there comes a moment when achievement alone isn't enough. We all long to feel understood, to know that someone sees beyond our accomplishments and appreciates the person behind them. For many Capricorns, that longing often stays hidden. You have a reputation for being dependable. You're the one people call when they need advice, stability, or someone who will keep their word. But being the strong one can sometimes become a lonely role. People may admire your resilience without realizing how much encouragement you quietly need yourself. And that's where the third blessing may begin. A relationship blessing. Not necessarily the dramatic romance you see in movies, but something deeper. A connection that reminds you what it feels like to be seen, heard, and accepted without having to prove your worth. Sometimes, this blessing may arrive through love. Other times, it may come through a trusted friend, a family member, a mentor, or even someone you've only recently met. What matters isn't the title of the relationship. It's the feeling of emotional safety it creates. Imagine an old bridge that's weathered countless storms. From a distance, it still looks strong. But over time, small cracks begin to form beneath the surface. The bridge continues carrying heavy loads because that's what it's always done. Yet one day, careful hands arrive, not to replace the bridge, but to restore it, strengthening what time had quietly worn down. Relationships can work the same way. The right people don't always enter your life to change who you are. Sometimes they're simply there to remind you that you don't have to carry every burden alone. If you've experienced disappointment in the past, trusting again may not come easily. Perhaps someone broke a promise that mattered deeply. Perhaps you gave your loyalty to people who never appreciated it. Or maybe life became so busy that your closest relationships slowly drifted into the background without anyone intending for that to happen. Experiences like these can quietly convince us that keeping our guard up is the safest choice. And for a while, it may feel that way, but emotional walls have an unexpected consequence. They don't just keep pain out, they can also keep genuine connection from getting in. This blessing may gently invite you to lower those walls, not all at once, but one brick at a time. Maybe you'll have a conversation that heals a misunderstanding you've carried for years. Maybe someone unexpectedly reaches out just when you needed encouragement. Or perhaps you'll find the courage to say words you've been holding back. I appreciate you. I forgive you. I miss you. Or even, I need help. Those simple sentences have changed more lives than most people realize. Psychologists often remind us that strong relationships are built less on perfection and more on emotional honesty. Trust doesn't usually appear overnight. It grows through small moments of consistency, kindness, and vulnerability. Think about a garden after a long winter. For months, the soil appears empty. Nothing seems to be happening. But beneath the surface, roots are quietly preparing for spring. Then, almost overnight, flowers begin to bloom, not because they suddenly decided to grow, but because the unseen work had been happening all along. Relationships often follow the same pattern. The kindness you offered years ago, the patience you've shown, the love you've continued to give despite disappointment. Those seeds may still be growing in ways you cannot yet see. Here's what many Capricorns don't expect. Sometimes the relationship that needs the most healing isn't with someone else. It's the relationship you have with yourself. How often do you celebrate your own progress? How often do you speak to yourself with the same compassion you freely give everyone else? You would likely never tell a friend they're not good enough after one mistake. Yet many Capricorns quietly tell themselves that story every single day. This blessing may encourage a different inner conversation, one that replaces constant self-criticism with quiet confidence, one that recognizes growth instead of only focusing on what's left to accomplish. Because the healthier your relationship with yourself becomes, the healthier every other relationship in your life has the opportunity to become as well. If this message resonates, pay attention to the people who bring you peace rather than pressure. Notice the conversations that leave you feeling lighter instead of exhausted. Value those who celebrate your authentic self rather than only your achievements. Those connections are rare, and they are worth protecting. Remember this: the greatest relationships aren't built by finding perfect people. They're built when imperfect people choose honesty, patience, forgiveness, and trust again and again. But that's not the end of the journey, because once your heart begins to heal and your relationships grow stronger, another blessing often begins to rise from within. And this next one doesn't come from the outside at all. It begins with the quiet realization that you've been stronger than you ever believed. But that's where the journey begins to take its most powerful turn. After your heart has started to heal and your relationships begin to feel more genuine, something else may quietly awaken inside you. It isn't louder applause. It isn't more recognition. It isn't the approval you've spent years trying to earn. It's something far more lasting. The fourth blessing may be a deep increase in confidence, intuition, inner peace, and personal strength. For many Capricorns, confidence has often been connected to achievement. You feel confident after finishing the project, after reaching the goal, after solving the problem, after proving yourself. There's nothing wrong with taking pride in your accomplishments. You've worked hard for them. But there comes a point where life gently asks a different question. Who are you when there is nothing left to prove? That question can feel uncomfortable because so much of your identity may have been built around being productive, dependable, and responsible. Yet your worth has never depended solely on what you accomplish. It has always existed beneath the titles, the promotions, the responsibilities, and the expectations. Imagine standing beside a calm mountain lake just before sunrise. The water is perfectly still. For the first time, you can clearly see your reflection. Not because you've changed overnight, but because the noise around you has finally become quiet enough to reveal who you've been all along. Inner peace often works that way. It doesn't arrive because life suddenly becomes perfect. It arrives when your mind no longer believes every worry deserves your attention. Many Capricorns spend years preparing for problems that never happen. You plan ahead because that's how you've learned to protect yourself. You anticipate obstacles because experience has taught you that life isn't always easy. Those qualities can be strengths, but they can also become heavy burdens if they keep you trapped in constant anticipation of the next challenge. This blessing may invite you into a different rhythm, one where preparation is balanced with presence, where ambition is balanced with gratitude, where discipline is balanced with self-compassion. Psychologists often describe confidence as trust, built through experience. Real confidence isn't believing that nothing will ever go wrong. It's knowing that even if something does, you'll find a way through it. And if there's one sign that understands perseverance, it's Capricorn. Look back at everything you've already overcome. The disappointments, the unexpected setbacks, the seasons when giving up would have been easier than continuing. You survived them all. Not because you had every answer, but because you kept taking one step after another. Sometimes we underestimate ourselves simply because we're too close to our own journey. Think about climbing a mountain. While you're focused on the next step, it's easy to forget how high you've already climbed. Only when you pause and look back do you realize just how far you've come. Perhaps this blessing is inviting you to pause, to recognize that the version of yourself sitting here today is wiser than the person you were 5 years ago. More resilient, more compassionate, more capable of handling uncertainty, and perhaps more deserving of peace than you've allowed yourself to believe. Here's what many Capricorns don't expect. As confidence grows, intuition often grows with it, not in a magical or mysterious way, but through experience. Your instincts become sharper because you've lived through enough seasons to recognize patterns. You begin to notice when something feels aligned with your values. You recognize opportunities that genuinely fit your purpose instead of chasing every possibility simply because it's available. You become more comfortable saying no without guilt, and more courageous saying yes when your heart quietly whispers that it's time. That inner voice has always been there. Life's noise simply made it difficult to hear. This blessing may also bring a sense of peace that isn't dependent on circumstances. You'll still have goals. You'll still dream bigger. You'll still work hard. But your happiness may no longer be postponed until some future milestone. Instead, you begin discovering joy in ordinary mornings, in meaningful conversations, in small victories, in laughter, in moments of silence, in simply being present. Those moments may seem insignificant, yet when added together, they become the foundation of a deeply fulfilling life. If this message resonates, give yourself permission to celebrate progress instead of waiting for perfection. Trust that every lesson you've learned has prepared you for what's ahead. Believe that your strength isn't measured only by how much you can carry. Sometimes it's measured by what you're finally willing to put down. Remember this: the strongest mountain doesn't prove its power by making noise. It simply stands with quiet confidence, knowing exactly what it is. And perhaps that's the blessing waiting for you now. Not becoming someone else, but finally believing in the person you've already become. The fifth and final blessing is the one that often changes everything, because it isn't about gaining something new. It's about seeing your entire life through a completely different lens. The fifth and final blessing may be the one that stays with you long after this video ends. It isn't something you can hold in your hands. It doesn't arrive with a headline, a trophy, or a perfect moment that suddenly erases every challenge you've ever faced. Instead, it begins with a realization, a quiet, life-changing realization that has the power to reshape how you see your past, your present, and the future you're still creating. Many Capricorns spend much of their lives believing they have to earn happiness, earn rest, earn love, earn peace, earn the right to slow down. Somewhere along the way, responsibility became so familiar that it started to feel like your identity. You became the dependable one, the planner, the protector, the person everyone else could count on. And while those qualities are beautiful, they can also become a heavy burden when you begin believing your value depends entirely on what you do for others. But what if that story isn't the whole truth? What if one of the greatest blessings waiting for you is discovering that you've been worthy all along? Imagine spending years searching for a hidden treasure. You travel across mountains, through forests, across rivers, convinced that the answer lies somewhere far away. Then one day, you return home, only to discover that what you were searching for had been buried beneath your own feet the entire time. Life often teaches us this lesson in unexpected ways. The peace we chase may begin within. The confidence we seek may already exist beneath layers of self-doubt. The purpose we're searching for may not require becoming someone new. It may simply require becoming more fully ourselves. This realization doesn't happen all at once. It unfolds through ordinary moments. A morning when you wake up feeling grateful instead of anxious. An evening when you laugh without worrying about tomorrow. A decision to stop comparing your timeline to someone else's. A conversation where you finally speak your truth without apologizing for it. These moments seem small, but together they quietly transform an entire life. Psychologists often talk about something called post-traumatic growth. The idea that while painful experiences are never desirable, many people discover greater wisdom, resilience, and appreciation for life after moving through them. The hardship doesn't become good, but it can become meaningful. Perhaps that's true for your journey as well. Maybe the delays taught you patience. Maybe the disappointments taught you discernment. Maybe the closed doors redirected you toward opportunities that fit your life far better than the ones you originally wanted. Looking back, you may someday realize that what felt like rejection was actually protection, that what felt like waiting was preparation, and that what seemed like an ending was quietly making room for a beginning you couldn't yet imagine. Here's what many Capricorns don't expect. The happiest chapter of life doesn't always begin when circumstances become perfect. It often begins The moment you stop believing perfection is required before you're allowed to enjoy the life you already have, you start celebrating small victories. You become present for ordinary days. You let yourself experience joy without wondering how long it will last. You trust yourself a little more. You forgive yourself a little faster. You become gentler with your own heart. And something remarkable happens. The future no longer feels like something you have to fear. It begins to feel like something you genuinely look forward to. If this message resonates, perhaps that's the greatest blessing of all. Not that life suddenly becomes effortless, but that you become someone who knows they can face whatever comes next with courage, wisdom, and hope. Because your story has never been defined by the obstacles in your path. It's been defined by your willingness to keep moving, even when the road was uncertain. So as you leave this video today, carry this thought with you. Every small choice matters. Every act of kindness matters. Every moment you choose growth over fear, forgiveness over resentment, and hope over doubt becomes another step toward the life you're creating. You don't have to have every answer today. You don't have to know exactly how every dream will unfold. You simply have to keep showing up, one intentional step at a time. If this message resonated with you, write "I welcome my blessings" in the comments. Like this video, subscribe for more Capricorn guidance, and share it with someone who may need a little hope today. Thank you for spending these moments with me. Take care of your heart. Trust your journey. And remember, sometimes the greatest blessing isn't changing your destiny. It's finally believing you're ready for it.